All right, let's talk about Saudi Arabia because, boy, there's a lot of moving pieces with this story today. First, we'll kind of break them down in chunks here because President Trump is in the Middle East meeting first in Saudi Arabia, where he secured nearly $600 billion in U.S. investment deals. Here he is signing these documents with MBS right there. Saudi companies investing in the United States, $600 billion worth of this. Here's just a list. I'm not going to go through all of them, but just take a look at this. These are plans to invest in AI data centers, AMD, Uber, Oracle, Google, Salesforce, all using are committing to invest $80 billion in both countries now. You have the list is long there, Boeing and et cetera, et cetera. Trump also lit a freaking fire and totally torched all of these neocons and interventionists that want the U.S. to bomb Iran, including Netanyahu, his hair is on fire today because he wants to move fully into Gaza. So his speech on sort of anti-interventionism and anti-neocons was pretty telling today.
It was jaw-dropping. So we're going to show you our favorite clips because while Trump talks about respecting the Arab culture, allowing Arabic countries to make their own decisions, being friends with them, not telling them how to be, not trying to save the world, not judging them, Netanyahu's in the backyard starting a fire and mad as snakes about this. So Trump basically said that this is a totally new diplomatic approach for the United States. To my mind, this is huge. Here he says we want to do business, but we don't want to wage wars. We don't want to tell you how to be. We don't want to tell you how to build your societies. Besides, we've been kind of shit at that anyway. We don't do a good job. We don't understand how you should live. We barely understand how we should live. We're done, but we're open for business. Watch.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. What a great place. What a great place, but more importantly, what great people. I want to thank His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, for...
Okay, this is not actually the clip that I wanted, so we can move forward. That was his warm welcome. Watch the next one where he says what I just said is, we're friends to everybody, business partners to everybody, judges of nobody. Watch this.
In recent years, far too many American presidents have been afflicted with the notion that it's our job to look into the souls of foreign leaders and use U.S. policy to dispense justice for their sins. They loved using our very powerful military, and now it's really the most powerful it's ever been. We just are getting a budget approved, $1 trillion, highest budget we've ever had in history for military, $1 trillion. And we're getting the greatest missiles, the greatest weapons. And, you know, I hate to do it, but you have to do it because we believe in peace through strength. You have to have the strength, otherwise bad things could happen. But hopefully we'll never have to use any of those weapons. Seems to be an awfully big waste of money if you're never going to use them, but hopefully we'll never have to use them because the destructive power of some of those weapons are like nobody's seen before. I believe it is God's job to sit in judgment, my job to defend America, and to promote the fundamental interest of stability, prosperity, and peace. That's what I really want to do.
Okay, so he said it's God's job to judge other leaders. We're not here to do this. And in the clip that I had intended to show you, he also says that the so-called nation builder wreckers for more nations, basically we've gone abroad, told other countries, oh, you need to be better with women's rights or gay rights or democracy or diplomacy or anything like that. We go, and if they don't do it, we put pressure on them, we put sanctions on them, and we decide to start bombing. We're done with that. He says peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately come not from a radical rejection of your heritage. We want you to just go ahead and be Arabic, and we will respect that. Basically, this is huge. This is not how any president has ever spoken before. The State Department has a whole litany of press releases talking about how we disapprove of other cultures, and we're going to go over there and do something about it. It's not got us anywhere, right?
That's right.
Internet is a jungle. All of us should be wary all the time to be a victim of cybercrime, because then there's no police to call. What do you do when you get victimized by a cyber criminal, a scammer, surveillance, government, AI? I know I'm paranoid about it. Anytime there's a lag on my computer, I'm like, it's spyware. They're watching us, but you just never know. That's why it's great to have Bunker on your side. It's the #1 app for privacy, security, and peace of mind. It was built by experts with over 25 years of experience in catching criminals and fighting cybercrime. Bunker was created to protect families and friends, and now it's available to you. It's a private messenger to share messages, photos, and files with trusted contacts, free from surveillance. Also, there's a password manager to make sure that your family has access to any of your online accounts that they might need. They check your social media. You can share streaming passwords. It is really a vault to secure personally your financial information, your IDs, your tax documents. It's the app that delivers supercharged privacy and security. It is really a true family bunker for just your family, letting you store, share, and communicate freely with those you trust. So download Bunker from the App Store, Play Store, or go to bunker.life. It's BUNKR. If you use the code Redacted, you'll get your first 3 months for free. So one more time, that's Bunker, BUNKR.life. Use the code Redacted and get 3 months for free. Check them out, bunker.life today.
We want to bring in Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis now to discuss all of this. He's the host of the Daniel Davis Deep Dive Show on YouTube, and a lot of things to unpack. Colonel, great to see you. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, appreciate your invite here. Glad to be here.
Our pleasure. First at just a high level, Benjamin Netanyahu, it seems like he is sort of scrambling right now. So, I don't know. There's a lot to unpack with what's going on in Israel. He's over the past 24 hours basically saying we're going full bore with our mission, our war in Gaza, doubling down on this position, while at the same time, President Trump is in Saudi Arabia took a few pot shots basically at Netanyahu, the way that I read it, unless I'm missing something here. And it seems that there's a lot of neocons in Washington, D.C. crying right now. What do you make of this?
Well, I was cheering when I heard that, and I saw that clip that you were trying to show there a second ago, and I was just, I had to back the video up a little bit to did I just hear that right? Because I agree with you that I'm like, when have I ever heard an American president saying these things? I've been saying these things for a long time and wanting an American president to say them. Now, I will caveat by saying that your words are great, but they have to be followed with action too. But man, if he does any version of that, it could represent a sea change of positive for the United States, because what he said is so rational and logical, and that's what other people around the world want to hear, so that they can have better relations with us and more safety and security and more economic prosperity for us. So if he follows through with actions, that is fantastic.
Right. So, I'm watching these relations with Saudi Arabia. We've had all of these reports of Saudi Arabia, the MBS and his family and things that they've done. And I thought, wait, we're not supposed to like them, but can we be diplomatic? But it has to be across the board, is that we don't tell people how to be, and we can do business with people if it, in fact, benefits both sides. And non-interventionist has to be absolute. So I can't then go digging into MBS and say, well, what am I supposed to think of that, right? You have to be a person of your word.
Well, look, it's a messy world that we live in, and you can't turn a blind eye and pretend nothing has happened. Or, sometimes you do have to take some actions, but ultimately, the president of the United States, whoever holds that office, has the primary obligation to keep us safe and to ensure our economic prosperity. And sometimes that means doing business with folks you don't like, and it also means that you can use your influence to guide them in areas where you do want them to go, especially if that's mutually beneficial. And if it's away from those things that he's been accused of in the past, that's a bigger win than trying to just condemn it. And listen, sometimes condemning is what you have to do, but only in certain selections if it has a chance for a positive outcome. But especially what he was talking about with the war, he's talking about maybe lifting sanctions on Syria, or actually he did, because he wants to give them a chance. He doesn't want to go to war with Iran. He still says they can't have nuclear weapons, but he says he would much prefer diplomacy. I think there's a real shot at that. And listen, this whole thing about Netanyahu, he may want to go full bore on here, but he's got to be careful he doesn't go too far away from Trump, because he can't do any of that without this flow of American weapons, bombs, missiles, and everything else. So we have a lot of leverage over there. And Netanyahu, I think that he's going down a path that cannot succeed militarily and will harm Israel. And I hope that Trump comes to that same conclusion. But overall, I really like the direction this is going, especially the neocons crying, as you mentioned. That was great, too.
I know. I'm pinching myself because I really, I don't want to get my hopes up in this situation. Like, is Netanyahu being boxed out? Trump, was furious that Netanyahu went around his back on a number of different issues. He doesn't like being upstaged. He doesn't like being, waking up and finding at 4 a.m. that Netanyahu has released a video message putting words in Trump's mouth. And you've seen the marginalization now of Mike Waltz within the Trump administration being pushed out in a lot of ways. So I don't want to get my hopes up too high here. Do you anticipate the United States really pulling back away from Netanyahu even more than we've already seen in the past 48 hours?
I certainly hope so. Not out of any animosity towards Israel. I have nothing but good thoughts toward the people of Israel, but because it's not effective policy. It's not good for Israel. It's definitely not good for us. Some of the things Israel doing, if you're going to be honest, they're clearly against international law. And all you have to do is just look at any of these images of people being starved. And listen, I'll pull one issue out. The fact that Israel is openly blocking all food to the entire population there is an absolute black and white against international law. You are giving corporate punishment to the 2 million people in the Gaza Strip, allegedly to put pressure on Hamas. That is illegal, and we should not support that. And I hope that Trump says that's not good for us. That's not good for our image to actually support that. So we're going to pull that back, and then that will force Netanyahu to have some policies that he can afford to do that may be better for that. But at any rate, we don't want to be associated with something that is so heinous as starving kids to death.
Right. Now, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says, here's a quote, "There is no way that Israel will lay off Gaza, even if they get their hostages back." So he has at least dropped the veil that we're doing this to retrieve the hostages. He's saying, even if we get the hostages, we're going to keep going. He says, we'll take them and then we'll go in. There's no way we'll stop the war. He's saying we can make a ceasefire for a certain period of time, but we're going to the end. Now, that's the attitude they're taking to ceasefire talks in Qatar. Well, what the Trump administration obviously has to do something about that. They can't allow a 30-day ceasefire and then go back in and completely raise the area. What do you make of this attitude going into negotiations? That's not a settlement.
It's not, and I think that this is coming closer. I think that the cockiness and the arrogance, after a while, you don't even worry about pretending because you've pretended on so thin of a lie in the past, and it seems to work. Maybe they're just not worried about that anymore. But I've been saying since at least the first month of this war, way back into 2023, that if the Israelis wanted the hostages back, they could have had them back. There was a deal to be made. There was something on the table. If it was important to you, you would have prioritized that above everything else. They were still inside the Gaza Strip. They weren't going anywhere, but he has chosen not to. And of course, this last ceasefire, there was a golden opportunity. They would have had them all back by now if they had done all three phases of that. But Israel is the one that closed that back off. So actions speak much louder than words. And again, I hope that this influences President Trump's decision to not back failing policies.
Yeah, Netanyahu, clearly, you're absolutely right about that, Colonel, which is we've had multiple reports from different journalists, Jewish journalists right here on our show, who've said absolutely that Netanyahu does not want the hostages back. Once that happens, the war ends, and then Netanyahu is out of power. And that's why you had so many protests from families of the hostages protesting Netanyahu in the streets of Tel Aviv. So if they wanted these hostages back, they could have gotten them. And I also thought it was interesting that the hostage who President Trump was able to negotiate, Steve Witkoff, to get out of there, he was asked to meet with Netanyahu, and he said, no, I don't want to meet with Netanyahu, because he knows.
I didn't see that part.
He kept him there. I mean, by all accounts, Netanyahu was instrumental in perpetuating his hostage keeping. So again, this has been a disaster of their own making. It's going to be interesting to see going forward how much this can continue inside of Gaza. I'll just get you out of here on this, Colonel, which is, are you surprised by like the neocon meltdown? I mean, you have like Ben Shapiro coming out basically in many ways slamming the Trump administration for this hostage negotiation by not using Israel to carry it out. They're like upset that we got an American hostage back.
Well, yeah, and you've also seen Mark Levin. He's just been melting down over a number of things. He's been upset with Trump. Somebody who just a couple of weeks ago was really excited because Trump put him on some board member of something. He was all excited. Now all of a sudden he's going against it because Trump is doing what he's actually campaigned on, which is America first. That's what the American president is supposed to do, is to prioritize our needs above any other nation. And now people, it just shows that some people actually don't want an America first foreign policy. They want an Israel first foreign policy, and then America if it works out. And I'm categorically against that. And again, I just want to reinforce, I'm absolutely not opposed to the people of Israel at all. I have nothing but good things about them. I want peace for all of them and for the Palestinian people, but priority comes to the American people from our president.
Right. Clayton said he had one more question, but I do too. When President Trump had strong words for Iran, he talked about how if he can't make a deal with Iran, he's ready to put maximum force economically. He did not make military threats. I mean, maybe a little, you could parse some out at the end. But to my mind, I heard, wait, he's actually not threatening war. He's threatening economic war. Now, we've already had sanctions with Iran in place for a long time. But do you hear hesitancy to go to war with Iran in those words? Because that's what I was hopeful for.
Yes, I actually covered that on my show earlier this afternoon, because when you saw some clips from, especially from late February and early March, Trump was basically said, hey, if there's not a deal, bombs are going to start falling, and we're in the last moment, folks. You know, we're right to the edge here of doing something. And there was something happened behind the scenes, and I'm trying to figure this out, but something really changed in Trump, and then he started switching to, actually, let's go down the diplomatic path. And I was saying with you, I was listening carefully when he said that about Iran, and I noticed that the first thing he said was not there will be bombing. He just said maximum economic pressure, et cetera. And I agree that you could read, but there's some parsing later on that could imply that. But I think it's clearly he's laying out that his strong imperative, plus other comments he made during this speech, is that he does not want any war in this area. I don't think that the Saudi Arabians want any war. And if he wants all these good deals in there, the last thing you want is to have a war in the region. So I think these economic priorities are downplaying any kind of military priorities. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, he's a businessman at heart, you know. So, yeah, and I think maybe the right people have gotten to Trump. You know, we were hopeful that some of these neocons would be edged out, and it sounds like the right conversations, the pro-peace groups are surrounding Trump and maybe blanketing him, maybe protecting him from some of these neocons. That's the way that I'm seeing it right now. But Colonel Davis,
we can give him a little credit directly. This is along the lines of things he promised on the campaign trail.
Yeah. I think that one of the problems in the first administration was that he had the right ideas and other people were working against it. So by surrounding yourself with people who don't work against him, more of his good ideas come out. And I'm for that.
Yeah. Like J.D. Vance, et cetera. So, Colonel, great to see you as always. Thank you so much for your insights on this. And we'll be watching. This is just the first leg of the Mideast trip here. A lot more news will be coming out of the Middle East in the next few days. Colonel, great to see you.
You bet. Appreciate it.